telling y'all right now, the country's going to find out. Everything runs through Lubbock.
The Lady Raiders come into Waco and knock off Baylor. Davis to the plate. Save! Texas Tech has done it.
The Red Raiders come out with one of the most remarkable victories for any program this season.
We can play with any team in the country. We really are who we say we are, and I'm looking forward to everyone seeing that.
Welcome all to the Tortillas and Takes podcast. You are on once again with your boy, I'll be sure. And guess what, guys? We are getting ready for Final Four weekend to see the Texas Tech Red Raiders and the Lady Raiders in the Final Four. Wait, what was that? Hold on, what's that?
Hold on.
The men's team isn't, or the Lady Raiders isn't in the Final Four. Okay, well, how what happened? Who they lose to? Yeah, okay, that makes sense. By how much? Oh, sheesh. All right, well, you know what? Hey, it's okay. We're about to go see the in Indianapolis, the Texas Tech Red Raider men team play in the. Hello. Yeah. They lost to who? Okay, well, it must have been a close game then. By how much? All right, never mind. We're the season's over, guys. Season's over, guys. And to talk about two probably the most embarrassing losses in either tournament, we got in the end of our seasons, we got the people champ himself, Jeremy Gillen. What's up, Jeremy?
Here, as disappointed as ever. We took enough time off to let people forget about how bad it stung, and we're just bringing it right back to the forefront now, just to remind people just how embarrassing one was and how expectedly embarrassing the other was, which is a lot less when you're expecting it.
Yeah, but so obviously the one that's like less expectedly embarrassing is the Lady Raiders was in LSU. I think we all knew it was going to be a blowout. We talked about it in the tournament preview that, you know, we were right in that Tech was going to win the first game, that it come from behind victory in game one, and went to play LSU. And it was like, good job, good effort. My wife asked me beforehand. She was like, hey, what are our chances? Maybe we can beat LSU. I'm like, no, dear. It's okay. But we talked about it, that we just at least wanted to show a competitive game. We all know women's basketball blowouts are common. I want to say, Jeremy, the last thing we said is just please don't embarrass us. Mm. And I think this was the first 100-point game by LSU in the tournament. And I don't know how long. I think it was the first 100-point game in the tournament, and I don't know how long. It was one of the biggest blowouts we've seen in tournament lore in a while, especially at that 2 versus 7 level. So yeah, we I expected to get blown out. That was they doubled us up the entire game. That was a little different for the Lady Raider side.
Outside of one extraordinary player, yeah. I mean, you just you didn't play your brand of basketball, but I don't know if you could have. LSU from the beginning just didn't give you an opportunity. I mean, it reminded me of, you know, the Friday Night Lights movie when they're playing in the state championship, and it's like the guy comes out on defense, and coach is like, "What's going on out there?" And he's like, "Oh man, they're big, they're fast, man, they're smart, and they're big, coach." And he's like, "Yeah, you said that already." It's just like, you know, LSU just a completely. It was the Monstars, and we were, you know, the Looney Tunes without Mike's secret. It was just, you know, it was clearly the talent discrepancy. And I want to come back to this because you had a really important tweet that came to fruition moments later in the post-game presser. But, you know, the talent disparity was so obvious that, especially in women's sports, and I hate to be like this, but in women's sports, like this NIL, this conversation about NIL and expenditure, you know, it is semi non-existent to the point that when you have a team go out and spend a lot of money, you are elevated immediately to a different playing field. You know, a lot of Texas Tech softball. We spent some money, and we were in the World Series final the next year. It was like, what can $1 million get you? It can get you to the championship final game. Okay. And, these are teams that we're talking, South Carolina, LSU, UConn. Like, we're talking about teams that have been a leg up on compensating players. We'll call it that before it was NIL, to where they're dynasties. They've got dynasties in these places where, when you think about women's basketball, you're expecting only it's chalk. Like, you're like, it is likely chalked all the way to the end. That's how it typically is every year. It's not a bad thing, but it is a very obvious talent disparity. And we just ran into the buzzsaw early, after we beat Villanova. What do you do whenever, they're just jacking up threes right over your best players, and you're like, wow, what are you going to do? They keep netting these things. So this one got out of hand pretty early. And about that midway through that second quarter, I turned to Emily and I was like, this is long gone, and it's just going to get worse.
Yeah, it was. I mean, to your point, first quarter, it was 19-14. The first quarter was close. First quarter was actually close, but we talk about the middle six in football. LSU put BTA in the end of the second quarter and the beginning of the third quarter. Well, all of the third quarter is really where that blowout happened. And really, honestly, I would argue the third quarter. And I've, I don't know if I've told the story too much about the last time I ever played high school football. We played the number one team in the state, and we knew we were going to lose in the second quarter. In the second quarter, any hope that we might have had dissipated. And so the whole second half, it was just, enjoying the last time some of you would ever play football. And that's kind of, I think, what really ended up happening kind of midway in the third quarter here, where it was, all right, guys, we're just gonna kind of enjoy ourselves. Bailey Maupin was throwing up a lot of shots. She had herself a quite a decent last hurrah before she left as well, putting up 19 points herself. But that's really what it felt like in the second half. It was a Lady Raider team it was an LSU team that was like, hey, let's keep some of our ladies fresh for the next round and let's have some fun. And it was for on the LSU side, and for Tech, it was, hey, let's just enjoy ourselves. You stop seeing Coach Gerlich wasn't really coaching as hard anymore. And you, not even anything to be, hard on her about. It's just, that's just the fact of the matter. I mean, at that point, it's like, hey, let's just enjoy ourselves. We know what's in front of us. And we just, let's enjoy this, enjoy the fact that we made it to the second round, got a win for the first time in ages, and know what this next step is. I think, in Coach Gerlich's mind, you were talking about the post-game presser where she talked about the disparity in NIL. I think she was thinking that the entire second half. Yeah. The entire second half, she's looking at it like, well, there it is. I do think what's interesting, she's not the first coach to say this across the sports. Kelvin Sampson famously said this just a couple weeks ago. But a lot of the times, I think, when coaches come up here and they say, hey, we just have a disparity when it comes to NIL. It's one of two reasons. It is usually because they're just speaking the facts of the fact that they are a poor school, or they're saying this to the school's boosters because they know they can step it up, right? For Coach Gerlich, it was the latter. Coach Gerlich, it was like, money's not a problem for the university. I need you to make it, but it is a problem for my program. So can you make it less of a problem? And we've talked about some of the examples that we've already seen play out, but I think there's two, and I've mentioned this before, there's two primary examples that are right in front of your face. You mentioned Texas Tech softball. The other one is TCU women's basketball. 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, technically, the 2022-2023 season, TCU had a record of 8-23, Jeremy. They were 8-23. They had one conference win the entire season, right? They had in the 3 seasons leading up to that, they had a grand total of 24 wins total across 3 seasons, right? This just was not a good team. The very next season, they hire Mark Campbell as the head coach. They spend money on Madison Connor. They spend money on Sedona Prince. They go from 8 wins to 21 wins. The very next season after that, they spend even more money on Haley Van Lith. They revive her career. She goes on to the W, and they win the Big 12 for the first time in TCU women's basketball history. They get 34 wins, right? The very next season, they spend more money on Olivia Miles, right? They win the Big 12 again. Right now, TCU is the top dog in the Big 12, right? And all it took was 2 seasons to get from 8 wins to 34 wins once they spent that NIL. That's all it took. So to your point, that's all it took, right? And so I think Coach Gerlich is talking about that. She's saying, hey, we don't have 8 wins. This is a team that with the we got an upgraded coaching staff, right? We got some good players that were here. Those good players that came weren't bringing big NIL checks. Snuda Collins didn't come in with all this NIL money. Wasn't her reason for coming, right? Bailey Maupin got some NIL money, and I think she's a Mahomes athlete, but wasn't any more than what Olivia Miles is getting or what some of these top ladies are getting. And so what Gerlich just is basically saying is that we can beat TCU. You see without the swath of NIL cash that we were able to be a 7 seed in the tournament. Now let's put money in and show you what I can really do.
Yeah. And a kind reminder, I mean, you beat TCU this season. You actually had a win against TCU. What the question was how do you maintain the longevity in the race for the Big 12? Because while, TCU, they only ended up having 3 losses in conference and we had 6. But a couple of those losses for us were out of character. There were teams that we should have beat. And so does, bringing in a few more world-class players help you kind of solidify that gap that Coach Gerlich showed you what she could do with a pretty choppy roster and a will to survive her, as a head coach. And now to turn around and say like, hey, you see how far we got like this, a little bit will make us go further, like help us go further. And she got some criticism from that for that explicit ask. And I think that's unfair, especially for coaches at a university that is becoming synonymous with the NIL and is synonymous with big spending and has given illustration of when you spend money, you win big. Like it's not, there hasn't been a failure in spending and winning, right? Texas Tech softball next year, World Series final. Texas Tech football, Big 12 title, first time solo Big 12 title, and then you're in the playoffs. So it's like the results are there, and it should be no surprise to anybody that other programs are going to start going, hey, it'd be great if we could see a similar level of success if we just got a little bit more money. And so I have no problem with her being explicit about it. I think she's right on the money. I think that, TCU set a really good roadmap, and Texas Tech has a leg up on that because it's like, we are not in a desolate spot right now. Imagine how much further we could go with the right players in our system, and it'll cost money. So yeah, like you're in a good spot. And I think Coach Gerlich realizes that. And I know you'll bring it up here, but I hope that overarching, she hasn't been extended yet. So like there could be a conversation or there could be something down the pipe. We don't know what the next step is. And I'd hate to be all this talk and then Kirby Hocutt say, yeah, you know what? We actually have somebody else we wanted to hire, but we were waiting for this year. Crazier things have happened. But I mean, she has set the right precedent for this women's basketball team to take the next step, winning the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if, reports say that her extension talks have begun and it'll happen, just a matter of when, not if. But it wouldn't surprise me if part of that negotiation is, hey, how much NIL am I going to have, right? If I'm going to stay here, I need to be successful, and this is what is that going to look like, negotiating that piece as well. So I do want to talk a little bit about the win, right? So the first Lady Raider tournament win since 2005. So first win in the tournament in 21 years, sorry, quick math. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. First round in Baton Rouge against 10 seed Villanova. Tech was a popular upset pick in this game. This was a game that went back and forth a lot, really all throughout until the fourth quarter, where Bailey Maupin didn't have a great shooting game. She went 4 for 13 in the entire game, but at the line she was clutch. She made some good clutch free throws there at the end. Danae Fritz had a very good game. One of the best. I would argue this was one of the most important games she may have ever played in her career. Just given the state of the game and how important she was, definitely down the stretch. Also putting up 13 points, 5 for 6 overall, and then just the team coming together as a team, doing what was necessary to make sure to get this win, especially at the end there, and securing the first Lady Raider win in 21 years. What were your thoughts on that first game?
Stressful, barn burner. I when we were talking about the game, one of the keys I had for Texas Tech to win this was that they needed to win the turnover battle. They did not, right? So I think it was we turn it over 20 times and they turn it over 18. So it wasn't pretty either way. But where the Lady Raiders made up the difference is that points off of turnovers, Villanova got the ball a couple of times, but Texas Tech did a really good job of getting back on defense and limiting their shooting. And so they only ended up getting about 16 points off of turnovers. Whereas while Villanova turned over the ball less, we got more points, right? We were able to go down and create some points off of that, 21. But outside of that, I think Texas Tech did a really good job down the stretch limiting Villanova. I think what they really were trying to do is catch us off guard because we were getting back so quickly to defend the paint. I think they were really doing their best to let's jack up some threes. Let's get some momentum on the three to kind of check them so that they got to stay out wide. And they just kept missing. Right? And so we got a little bit of help there from just a team that is usually pretty good, pretty good shooting variance. Just was not their day. I mean, they jacked up 25 threes, only got 6 of them. Right. Even worse, they took a lot of shots in the paint, and they only made about 37% of them. And so, while we played a pretty good game, and there were stretches where it really felt like that, we also got a little bit lucky with Villanova trying to force. When they started to get behind, they really started to force a lot of shots that they didn't really need to. So this game kind of really went in our favor, and I think Coach Gerlich did a great job at keeping our team calm while there were so many lead changes or so many chances to change the lead. And it was just it's their first time back in the NCAA tournament. And these girls, hadn't seen that. They never had that experience. And so for them to come into it and have a game that was so, stressful, so back and forth, that was good. That was great coaching from Coach Gerlich. That was great coaching for her to rise to that occasion.
It really did feel like you mentioned composure. That's what it felt like at the end in that fourth quarter, right? One team was so, it almost felt like Villanova was scared to lose the game, but Tech was just comfortable. They knew, hey, we've been in this situation before. Doesn't matter that this is the NCAA tournament. Doesn't matter that we're in Baton Rouge. Doesn't matter that there's only 10 people here. We know what to do in these scenarios, these situations. We just got to bring it home, right? Going into the fourth quarter, down a point wasn't a problem. They said we just got to be consistent in what we do, and they were able to really, like I said, bring it home, come from behind, and win the game there. And a game that was pretty even. Like I mentioned before, I think coming into this game, Tech had a 52% chance to win based on according to ESPN metrics, right? That's in a 7-10 matchup. That's pretty simple. It's pretty easy there to say that anybody can win. Right. And so it really just seemed like we were composed. Also, you talked about it. You talked about the turnover battle, but in the fourth quarter, especially, what we were winning was the rebound battle. Villanova couldn't hit a shot, and they couldn't get they only got a couple of rebounds. Other than that, Tech was able to get rebounds, to move it over, get easy, quick points in transition. When they got fouled, making their free throws. And so that, I think, is one of the reasons we just stayed composed. And while Villanova started forcing shots, we stayed composed. We got rebounds. We were able to make to the other side of the ball, or other side of the court, to make the shot. So, and it was a really big win for this team, something that they felt proud of. I was hoping we'd carry the momentum on to the LSU game, but Didn't really did. I mean, they kind of did. First quarter wasn't too bad.
We did. That first quarter, they were feeling it. They were ready to play.
And then the momentum ran out.
That's right. They were like, wow, they're still – I am gassed.
yeah, exactly. And also, I was talking about this at work or during my day job. It's so hard to pull off an upset on the second game in the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
You prep like ever since the Big 12 tournament ended, Texas Tech was prepping for Villanova. Yeah. We were ready for Villanova. You don't want to overlook that first team prepping for the second one. The assistant coaches and the scouts had LSU game for tape ready for us to quickly transition. And some of the people that aren't necessarily team facing, I'm sure, were doing some Villanova from LSU scouting just to make sure that they had that ready to go. But for Gerlich and the players, they were focused on Villanova. So once that game ends, you only have a 48-hour turnaround. Actually, not even 48 hours, I don't think. Not even a 48-hour turnaround of focusing the LSU. And so, and let's face it, there is a huge talent disparity. So it's just so much tougher to try to get that upset on the second game. And so, it's just very tough there. So,
and you're on their home court.
With that being said, like I said, Texas Lady Raiders first. Oh yeah, it's a match.
Welcome back.
Yeah, not to mention, like you said, them being in Baton Rouge. It's like, I mean, come on, and I know some Tech fans were complaining about that, like, hey, why the hell do they get to host that there? But also, I think we got to be realistic about like finances, the women's tournament, the ramifications there of the women's tournament. We just got to be honest with ourselves there and understand what that is. So it is what it is. If we don't like them hosting it, we have the top 4 seed ourselves. That's one way to avoid that. So, all right. Lady Raiders first tournament win in 21 years. That wasn't the case for the men Raiders. The men Raiders. We've won in the first round of the tournament before. Men Raiders, right? Just as recently as last year. But they were playing Akron, and without JT Toppin, the Raiders were very popular upset picks. I think we were the most popular 5-12 upset pick. And I talked about it in the tournament preview pod. I understand it. I get it. Akron's a tough team. We're without our best player. I am not. If somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I picked Akron to beat you," I'm like, "Yeah, I get it. I absolutely get it." We all thought it'd be a close game. Tech said that was foolish. The guys really ran away with this in the second half.
Yeah. I mean, what do you say? It was kind of close in the first half, but really it didn't feel that way. It felt like kind of, we're still kind of getting our groove. And Akron was really hustling and not a lot of productivity coming from it, right? They had a lot of turnovers. They had a lot of mistakes early on that made me feel really comfortable about the rest of the game. And then, like you said, man, in the second half, I mean, it was just, we were throwing alley-oops up to whoever, like, hey, let's just try it out. Yeah. Let's try it out, bro. Like, yeah, well, we'll get the next one. And it was we were having fun, right? And it really showed up on the court. But in that same vein, this team defensively has had such a hard time this year having any sense of urgency that, like, while yes, Akron, and I will say Akron is a really good shooting team. That's one of the number one reasons that people were expecting that Akron was going to upset Texas Tech is like, yeah, Tech is really not stopping people shooting this year, very much. And Akron has just been like pelting people. Everybody they play, they're just like berating them. And so, to give up 71 points, I'm still stuck in like this Beard era mentality of like, when we held people to like 50 points, and that was like the golden standard. It's like, man, if we can get you, if you're only scoring 50, all we got to score is 51, right? But it was like this defensive first mindset, and we're kind of moving into a much more fluid, maybe like professional style of the game of like, yeah, we're just going to kind of, I'm thinking like the Knicks and the Grizzlies is like 118 to 108, and there's still like 5 minutes left in the game. It's just like, yeah, defense is good, but like, it's really cool to go down and jay it up and just kind of, we're just going to cardio it out.
Yeah, I think pace also matters there, right? So I think one of the things, to your point, I think in that Beard Adams era of low scoring, the pace was also so slow.
Yeah,
in those games too, right? So even games where the team didn't necessarily play good defense, the score would still be 64-65, simply because the pace was so slow. In this one, I will say, I actually didn't think Tech played good defense in this one. It's just the pace is faster. But like you look at this, they had a hand up in the face every single time. I think they took some of the feedback as far as what we had talked about as far as the shooters that they have. I mean, they went 26% from three, 43% from the field overall. Like this team couldn't shoot. And I think it might have been Joe that said it. If they don't make the shots, they're not going to win. And they didn't. So to your point, I think that thought of, 71 points is a lot. But then pace-wise, I actually do think it was – we gave up some easy shots, some easy layups just in transition because of the pace. Excuse me, sorry. Because of that pace. But I do think defensively, especially when we got in the half court, it was a little bit better. Yeah,
for older fans like me, it's just a part of that kind of transitioning era of discovering, what is Red Raider basketball now, and like, hey, if pace remains and we're doing well on the offensive side of the glass, then great. Yeah. There are times where we do not.
Bobby Knight would never.
Knight would never, brother. Never.
You would never. So the Red Raiders, big win. Running faster than the Zips, right? Outpacing them 91-71.
The fighting LeBron Jameses.
I will say this, right? On the ladies' side, we knew, despite the win over Villanova, it was such a tall hill to climb that it still didn't seem fathomable. After the win against Akron, I felt good, Jeremy. I felt good. Also, quick aside, do we got to start killing the 5-12 notion about that being an upset? Of the four teams that 4 games of 5-12, this was a 20-point win. St. John's won their game by 26. Vandy won their game by 10 over a really good, probably the best 12 seed in McNeese. And the only 12 seed to win was High Point on a miracle shot at the very end.
Oh, loved it though.
It was a great game. Yeah. But and this has actually been a recurring theme of 5s. At one point, the 12s won at a higher clip than 5s. But the last 5 years, the 5 has been winning. It's interesting. I'm gonna come back to that point here in a second, but I just wanted to say that. But anyways, I felt really good. I felt really good about our matchup against Alabama. I said, you know what, Jeremy, and I think all 3 of us picked Tech to go to the Sweet 16. Yeah. And so I felt good about it. Now, if you're Alabama, I'm sure you also felt good. They also beat Hofstra by 20. But admittedly, I was like, Akron's a better team than Hofstra. All right, I feel good. Bama can't touch us. All right, they can't touch us. We're gonna be good. I don't care how good their jerseys look because it was actually a good uniform matchup between the two, if you ask me. Bama's jerseys look good. Tech's jerseys look good. But Jeremy, Bama beat the brakes out of us. And this was a bad defense game. I don't care about no damn pace. You give up 49 points and a half. That's bad defense. I don't care how fast we were going. These guys couldn't, these guys couldn't miss. And they were not only, I won't say necessarily they couldn't miss, but when they missed, they were getting rebounds, right? So they were getting rebounds. They were putting it up. We lost virtually every battle. Every battle you can think of: the rebound battle, the assist battle, the turnover battle. Technically, we won the turnover battle because we didn't have the ball much. Man, they just and we couldn't make a shot, and a lot of it I think was based on, hey, if we just rush Christian Anderson, Donovan Atwell, and Jalen Petty, if we rush them 3, nobody else on this team can do anything else. And they were right. Right? Josiah Mosley played so incredible against Akron. I really wish he'd have gotten more minutes in this game. It almost seemed like it seemed like, especially early on, he didn't play great defensively early on. Guy got pulled there and yanked there. He didn't play as many minutes as I was hoping. Lawan Watts.
Say it, brother. You got to say it.
Man. What a time to pick to play your worst game of the season. And Lawan Watts has had an up and down season already. Like, it's not like he's just been lights out all year. He's had an up and down season already. But, he had himself a Baron Morton Orange Bowl moment in this game.
I had seen some people. I said something similar, not about Morton, but I said something similar about his style of play in this game and his decision to be the it guy. And I had a criticism come through on X talking about, well, at least he's the only guy, he's the only guy who's willing to try. Like, at least he's out there trying. And I was like,
stop trying.
Maybe he needs to stop trying because it's not working. Like, he is doing too much. And he has given Alabama more points than I can count, brother. Like, please stop. Put Josiah Mosley in there because when he fouled out, was that against Akron? Yes. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's why Mosley played so much better. Yeah, so much.
It was. And the game was close. And then when Mosley came in, the gap widened significantly. And you can point however you want. I'm going to tell you the answer. It's because Watts wasn't in there trying to be the mediator. Like, he's just doing too much for his role, right? And I think maybe there's a little bit of pressure without JT Toppin being there, right? There's this big gap in the team that somebody's got to step into that and be the guy. But then he's navigating, how do I be a big and also kind of fluid around the wing? And how do I do all these different things at one time? And it's overwhelming in a freaking second round game against a team that just couldn't miss if God himself came down and put his hand up. I mean, Alabama. So for as poorly as we played defensively, especially, but also I would say markedly one of the worst games as a team we had all season. It was like pre-conference. It was like non-con level bad of like, who does this go through? Who we playing through? What's this going to be like? For all of that, Alabama just played their best game. They were like, people were saying it's 50-50.
Yeah.
But but it ain't. And let me show y'all why. And Alabama was having fun. I mean, every shot, every dunk, every hoop, every layup, every steal, like they were like out there having a blast. And then it pans over to the Red Raiders, and these guys are just lost. They're like, we have no answer. And they even asked McCaslin, what's got to change? Like, what are you going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And he was basically like, I can't get these guys to put in the effort. Like, I can't create the effort. And something's got to change. Otherwise, this is going to get worse.
So I'm going to say something that I haven't said all year. I don't even know if I've ever said this, period. McCaslin got out-coached. Got out-coached in this game. Bama was much more right. Because here's the thing. It wasn't a run that did it. From the game was 27-10 with 5 minutes in. Like this. Yeah. And so I think a lot of the Lawan Watts stuff was he was just forcing it because we're down by 20 already. So I'm just forcing it. And it was a little, and like I said, they really blitzed Anderson, right? Really blitzed Anderson. They blitzed Petty when they could, knowing that he was. They really ran Atwell off of his 3-point shots.
Yeah.
Bama came ready to play, and so I want to say this out. So let me take a step back. I won't say McCaslin got out coached, but he didn't have the team ready to play. Like Oates had Bama ready to play. And so when McCaslin's kind of making that comment as far as I don't know what to do here, it was, I think the guys just really felt defeated, like already. Yeah. I mean, you're down 25 minutes, you're down 17 with 5 minutes into the game. You're down 20, 10 minutes into the game. At halftime, you're down 24. I mean, it's like, I mean, there was a little bit of time in the second half where, you thought, well, maybe. And then Alabama just shut the door real quick. Like, no, hell no. Right? Yeah, no, it's shout out to Bama. That is how you just take the air completely out of the ball for Texas Tech. And yeah, we were not ready to play like Bama was ready to play.
So you concur with McCaslin because after that was his initial posture was just like, I didn't do enough to get the guys ready.
They weren't ready. They 5 minutes in, they weren't ready. They were just absolutely not ready to play. Now I do think that's. I think sometimes we put a lot on the coaches to do so. I do think that the players own a lot of responsibility there as well. Like you also have to get yourself ready. It's the second round of the NCAA tournament. I think an argument is that why the hell do you need your coach to get ready? You should be NCAA tournament. So I do think there's some onus. There's not just some onus, a lot of onus on the players as well. But when you go eat breakfast, McCaslin, you got to get in some guy's face and say you ready to play the second round of the NCAA tournament. You ready to do this? You know what I mean? And make sure that these guys are locked in. Because it's very obvious to me these guys were not locked in from jump, from tip. Yeah. They were not ready to go in this game.
Yeah. Just soft, man. Soft all around. The rebounding issue for Texas Tech is just perennial. Like if we don't have a big, ever since, what we say, like Tariq Owens, like we haven't had like that ball is mine, Tariq Owens, Norris Odiase, like that ball is mine kind of rebounding, mentality. It's always been like hey, maybe it bounces my way. I'll try to put my hands out there. Damn. Okay, let's get back down there.
So a bully. We haven't had a bully.
I haven't had a bully. And I think that's something
because Toppin's a good rebounder, but he's not a bully.
Correct.
He's just more athletic than everybody else, and he's a
lot of length, a lot of ability, a lot of IQ. But he's not a bully. And I think that's something that Texas Tech has benefited from when we've had a bully. It's like, I need somebody under the rim who doesn't respect anybody else around him. And just like, listen, this is my ball and you can go home. Right. And I think that kind of stuff throws teams off because Alabama was bullying us under the rim all night. And it's just like, this is so embarrassing to be on the receiving end of this thing. It makes me, I'm like, my biggest worry going forward is not does McCaslin go for a UNC job. It's do we get like actual So, and this is, and I'm getting to a bigger issue here that just, I'll say it out loud now. It's like this transfer portal reliancy, like it helps and it hurts, right? Because every year we go through this, like, hey, okay, turnover is okay. A couple of maybe we'll have 3 guys that want to stay, and like we'll work with that. But let's just go ahead and get re-identified. Let's identify some good basketball players, and let's renegotiate who this team is. Bring some new people in, and then we'll go on the offseason. We'll go to Costa Rica. We'll go to wherever. We'll have a good time. We'll post pictures of us roasting marshmallows. Team bonding, right? We're all having a good time. Okay, cool. Whatever. Then we have to go through the non-con. We're waxing nobodies, and then when we play a couple of good teams, we're getting beat up, and we're like, what the hell's going on? I thought we had a good team. And then come December, we have a big marquee game, and we win it because we're starting to gel as a team. And then we get into the conference, and it's like, hey, back and forth. This is the Big 12. And then the tournament happens, and we find out, do we actually have a team or not? Because then you're at the point where it's like you have to have the guys on the team who have their own like thing that they're bringing in here that is cohesive with the rest of the team. And I think Texas Tech has an issue with cohesion throughout the season.
Yeah.
And sometimes we work it out, but it feels like, I mean, at this point, McCaslin, it's like, he's a good coach. He's a great coach. But sometimes, man, the players just don't do it with each other. And that's really hard to navigate whenever you're the second round of the NCAA tournament and your guys are like, damn, he out-rebounded me. Let's try again.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, there was a lot of what ifs after the game. A lot of people had those what ifs of like, the main what if is what if JT Toppin played, right? What if JT Toppin plays, we don't go on that nosedive at the end of the season, we're probably a 2 or 3 seed, sure. Right? And we're viewed as a potential national championship contender, right? So that was the big what if. But there was another what if that I saw, which is what if Darian Williams would have come back?
Hey.
Darian Williams had a really bad season at NC State. There's really no way around it. And the coach that recruited him to NC State, Will Wade, has now taken a job at LSU. Right? Darian Williams he still has eligibility though, doesn't he? I think
if he does, it's just the one season. But I don't know how we've already talked about it. I don't know how eligibility works anymore.
He still has one more season left. So I think for Darian Williams, I think he was hoping to keep it at NC State. Maybe he ends up transferring to LSU as well, following his coach. But I think that was the biggest question of like, man, what if we had Darian Williams? Because as good as Lawan Watts has been fine this year.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people have crapped on him because of how bad of a game he had, but he's been fine this year. He's no Darian Williams. He hasn't been as good as Darian Williams was the year before. So imagine a scenario where Darian Williams, who was on the preseason ACC team, right? Christian Anderson, who right now looks like a top 15 NBA pick, and JT Toppin, who before his injury was, even with his injury, it didn't matter. He was a first team All-American. If all three of them were on the same team, well, that's probably the best team in America. You know what I mean? Like, and then you add Atwell and Petty, who weren't heavily recruited in the portal to begin with, right? You have probably the best team in the country, and that's where a lot of that continuity comes from, right? It's not a big deal when you're just adding 2 shooters onto the team of guys that are continuous, but now you have really just your main 2 guys who were here last year. Everybody else is replacements. Then Toppin goes down, so now your starting lineup is all replacements, right? So then how does that look, And so it's a constant state of gelling, like you were mentioning. I do question, as I look into next year, right now, for those that don't know, Leon Horner did enter the portal. He's a guy that just really never really broke into a rotation, and he's been here for a few years. It wasn't the biggest shock to see him enter the portal, though he did play quite a bit against Bama. So I thought that was a sign for next year, but I guess not. But you have, right, when it comes to seniors, for one, Christian Anderson's going to the NBA. I'd be surprised if he didn't. Atwell's a senior.
We said the same thing about Toppin last year.
But Toppin was always a second-round pick even last year.
Yeah,
like Christian Anderson's going to be. He's a bona fide first rounder for sure. And he's going to be borderline lottery, right? And that gives you a guaranteed contract. Yeah, to me, if you're UCA, you got to go. Everybody, and then I was a senior. Most everybody else that got playing time this year should be back. So the question that I have is that are we going to have another year of rotating pieces? All right. Probably a little bit because you don't know if you're going to have JT Toppin next year. So if you don't have JT Toppin next year, be competitive without Toppin, without Anderson, you probably want to do something, right? To your point, Jeremy, what do you do when it comes to that continuity? How do you develop this team to be competitive while not just having full roster turnover year in and year out?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
No, I don't either. It's hard to have that conversation when you're coming off a crappy finish and your team's kind of imploded and you've got your best players are kind of, 1 foot out the door. And what's left is the players that are giving you like grief in your mind. You're like, get the hell out of here. We'll have continuity next year. We need a new team, Yeah. There are some solid pieces here, right? I think Jalen Petty's probably the brightest spot on this team going forward.
I agree.
A lot of moxie, a lot of energy and a youth in him, and so he's got a lot of potential going forward. Luke Bamboye, I mean, talk about a big that kind of disappointed throughout this season. Just too small for a tall guy. Like without any kind of like instinct to just grab the ball. Somebody tweeted about, in the offseason, I better see Bamboye, in the gym catching watermelons, off like launching watermelons and catching them with both hands. That was really funny.
Bam Bam's problem? He's British. That's his problem. His problem is he's British. Passive. Yeah, British people can't hoop. All right, that's a problem.
No, they cannot.
That's the issue. So, but I half joke, but I do. When you were talking about we need a bully, I do question if it's in Bam Bam. You know, he's young. He's still young. Is he a bully or is he Federico?
Oh, dude, man.
Is the question.
Yeah.
Ask Aggie fans how Federico worked out for them this year.
That's right.
I saw some people joking of like, hey, can we interest you in a Bamboye next year?
That's right. It worked out so well. We have one more we can give you.
Yeah, that's right. African Europeans, we will give you all of them. don't
right.
you? That's the Tech to A&M pipeline. Don't you worry. But yeah. So either way, I think basketball. But still, you know, the seasons though very eventful, right? Lady Raiders. This is the best season we've had in 20 years. You know, for the men's basketball team, the top end injury is really where the you go from the highs of highs in the middle of the season. We were upsetting. We have 3 of the best wins you can possibly have, or 4 of the best wins you can possibly have: Arizona, Houston, Iowa State, Duke.
Yeah,
nobody else has those 4 wins on their resume. Nobody else. And then you have the lows of lows, which is losing JG Toppin in what now just seemed like a meaningless Arizona State game. And so you know, a very eventful season, right? Where you're losing the second round, but you're like, man, this team really could have went all the way. I had friends of mine from U of H that was like, your team could have done it.
Mm-hmm.
your team, and I think we all believe that. We all believe that, man, that team really could have done it. My question to you is, if the 2025 Tech team and the 2026 Tech team played the game, I think both teams are about the same, I would say.
Yeah.
Right. The 25 team was a miracle comeback from Florida away from going to the Final Four and potentially win the national championship. This team was a JT Toppin ankle away from, or a knee away from doing something similar.
Yeah.
Who wins in that game?
Oh, I don't know, man. Yeah, that's way too. I
got an answer for you. I got an easy answer for you. I think this year's team wins.
Oh, really? Because I was leading last year. What's the difference maker?
Christian Anderson's way better, for one. He's way better. Toppin's better. Atwell's a better shooter than anybody else we had in the team last year. The biggest loss from last year's team is, you know, obviously we don't have Darian Williams. But Anderson, to me, this year is a better player than Darian Williams was last year.
What chance?
Like I'll take CA. We did have Chance. That actually, you're right. That's the biggest loss.
He was a dog,
but he was a dog. Atwell's a better shooter, not a better player. I think Chance is a better player. Atwell being a better shooter is why I would pick this team. And then also, last year's team did not those four wins. Duke, Arizona, Iowa State. Arizona's gonna win the national championship.
Yeah, I said it. I said it.
Yeah.
Did they have not lost? The last loss they had was ours. We woke them up. We bombed Pearl Harbor, and then we woke up Arizona for everybody else.
And if it wasn't for the craziest implosion I possibly have seen on a last possession, we would have beaten 2 Final Four teams. That Duke. Oh my God! For those that don't know, I'm a reformed Duke fan. I've been a Duke fan ever since Jay Williams. Or I had been a Jay fan ever since Jay Williams. I still like Duke. I'm just obviously not as big of a fan. But let that have happened in the JJ Redick days, I'd have been distraught. I would have been distraught. Oh my God, I've seen that play about 30 times, and like hindsight's 20/20, obviously. But I'm like, man, Booze, if you just keep dribbling to the corner,
you keep dribbling, and then whoever went out to defend him, just kind of like. Oh.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, oh yeah.
Put it on, brother.
Well, apparently his IG handle is get your hand up.
Yes.
I was like, what?
I'm like, oh, you're gonna live with this the rest of your life.
Yeah. But okay, so I'll say this in his defense: you thought ain't no way in hell he brought himself back to the playground where you're like, or in like LA Fitness, where somebody takes like that half court shot and you're like, F no.
And now he's just got a highlight of him.
It's like when Dame Lillard hit that shot on Paul George, and Paul George was like, it's a bad shot. It's a bad shot. It's like it don't matter if it's a bad shot. If it goes in, hey, it don't matter.
That's right.
But yeah, no, this year's team just has some incredible wins. So
Yeah.
I'll take this one. All right. So either way, I think both teams wrap up very eventful seasons. And I think on the Lady Raiders side, like we mentioned, nowhere to go but up. I think on their side, we have really talented players coming in there. Yeah. I think one thing that's interesting on the men's side, we're back to recruiting high schoolers, Jeremy. I don't know if you've noticed, but I feel like this is the most momentum we have had in high school recruiting in Grant McCaslin's career here at Tech.
Yeah.
Well, like I'm seeing our names pop up for a lot of 4- and 5-star recruits.
Yeah.
In basketball for high school, and it just hasn't happened. I mean, I am interested to see what happens with Jazz Henderson. He got some PT at the end of the game last game. You know, small guy but fast guy. So I don't know if maybe coaches like, man, maybe he can be our little Kingston Flemings here next year or whatever. But yeah, no, it's very interesting. You did mention UNC job coming available. Grant McCaslin's name keeps coming up in that UNC job. Not as a main guy, but just as it seems to keep coming up when it comes to journalists thinking about who could be the next guy at UNC. I'm a little peer into where Jeremy and I were years ago before Chris Beard went to Texas. Both you and me had heard the rumor that Beard was looking into UNC. I remember we even had an off-pod conversation of like, would you be mad if Beard took UNC? And at the time, I remember both would be like, you know what, that would really suck, but hey, good for you, Beard. We were so nice to Chris Beard. We were, as a fan base, we were so nice to Chris Beard. You know what I mean? Like, because I remember at the time we were like, if he goes to UNC, it's okay. We understand it. We
get it.
You know, just don't. We get it. Just don't try to burn the program down on your way out. And instead, he pulled a what's his name over at USC, football coach, Lincoln Riley. He pulled a Lincoln Riley. Yeah. Pulled a Lincoln Riley and was like, I'm not going to North Carolina. I'm going to Texas, and then try to burn it down. So. But this is going to be interesting though, because I don't think McCaslin takes it. Like I said, it's all hearsay, and it's less about like, oh, McCaslin's been talking to UNC, and more about reporters just saying who are the best coaches out there that we think would flip, right? I think if you're close to McCaslin, if you know McCaslin, I actually don't think he would flip to UNC. But I also think one big reason why I don't think he'd flip to UNC is the program in 2026 is very different than the program in, 2021? Like, it's a very different program. Our NIL's up. We've shown sustained success, right? Our not only is our NIL up, but we have arguably the best facilities in the country, right? So it's just we're no longer with Under Armour. So it's the now obviously Jordan's Jordan, but the job at Tech is just made itself so attractive that the it's not as much of a step up as I think it would have been 5 years ago. And then also, there's no money UNC can offer that Tech won't match. So there's that too.
That's also true.
Yeah. Now Iowa State, let me tell you something. If they come calling, I'm sorry. I do. If you want to know my prediction of who's going to UNC, I think we can wrap. I think Billy Donovan's the guy.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think Billy Donovan's likely going to get fired from Chicago. Chicago's dumb if they don't fire him. He's not had a good year, or good last couple of years. And he's probably would be the hottest name on the coaching market. It just makes too much sense. Billy Donovan's the guy. Why are we? Why even? Why belabor it? Just go ahead and hire him. Who knows? They probably already. I think I mentioned this in our group chat. The longer the search goes on, the more I am convinced he's the guy.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Jeremy, as we end this pod out, a couple things. Texas Tech had our pro day. Arguably, actually, I won't even argue. I think it is the most important pro day in Tech football history. Every single NFL team came out. We had a bunch of head coaches that came out. to see our guys. The guy that I want to say stole the show, but greatly increased his stock was Brady Boyd. Shout out to Joey McGuire for allowing Brady Boyd to come and do his pro day there. And he went from a guy that nobody even knew what his name was to, after his 40-yard dash, teams going, "Ooh, who is that white boy that ran a 4.3 over there?" So right. Now, I don't know if you saw Jeremy. He has meetings. He has some meetings. I think he's going to the Dallas Cowboys Day that they're hosting out there. I think he has a couple other meetings with some teams. So yeah. I mean, Brady Boyd's always been an athlete, so that's not a huge surprise. But it's that kind of just shows that some of these guys are what they're doing there. Right now, Texas Tech has, as we talked about in the chat, there are 4 guys without a doubt will go. I think Texas Tech can get anywhere between 4 and 10, up to 10 players drafted. Probably won't be 10, but that is, on a large scale, I can see that. I think some mocks have us. I've seen a couple of mocks. The most recent mocks have us with 6 guys drafted. I've seen a couple that had us with 8. One with 5. But either way, I think 5 is the most we've ever had in one draft. I think we'll break that mark and get at least 6 in this one. Crazy stuff at the pro day.
Good for them kids, man. And what a good moment for the program to have all of these professional teams, have coaches, come out to watch these guys. Just really a testament to Joey McGuire and company developing these players. I know there's been some criticism that we ain't developing nobody, but tell you what, we are. And one of those kind of like big, are you really developing Jacob Rodriguez, right? Going from, quarterback at Virginia to now, looking to go to the NFL for a linebacker. And I think if that's, from one side of the ball to the other and to having some real kind of momentum there. I mean, he's just one example of many, right? But also elevating the games of people like Lee Hunter, elevating the game, people, especially like people like David Bailey. I think it's been this is a really cool cherry on top of a very good season. It's like, okay, yeah, we floundered in the Orange Bowl, but now in the NFL Pro Day, it's like nobody cares about that. What they care about is like, man, you got some monsters on this team. Yeah, these are monsters we want on our professional team, and they come from Texas Tech. So you'll be hearing more when they do the introductions. You'll be hearing more, blah, 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 Texas Tech University. You'll be hearing more of that. That's good. That's good for our program.
Yeah, and everybody was hating on Baron Martin, but Baron Martin also, I think, is raising his stock based off of the pro day. His athleticism has really shined through lately. I think Baron has a shot at being drafted. It will not surprise me. I actually compare it a lot to Brock Purdy, funny enough. Brock Purdy was coming out of Iowa State. He also had a disappointing end to his career, despite being a starter there for quite a while. And Brock Purdy ended up being Mr. Irrelevant, last pick. And it will not Baron Morton being the last pick of the draft this year would not surprise me at all. Also, doesn't hurt that this is a terrible quarterback draft. That does not hurt. So, so there's chance there. All right. Additionally, Jeremy, stickball. Some stickball updates. Baseball is not terrible. They are not terrible, Jeremy. We've actually been really good at home, as we've always been, to be honest. And we are scoring runs. We're one of the top teams in the country when it comes to scoring runs. I mean, that also means that we're giving up a lot of runs, but ignore that. We are scoring runs. We're winning games 10-9, 11-4, 10-5, 9-5, 12-10, right? 15-4. Ignore the fact that we're also losing games 10-9, 18-8, 14-6, 16-10, 18-7. Ignore all that. All right. So this is a pretty. You know what this season is going to remind me of? I don't think this is a team that goes to a tournament or any postseason, but it does kind of remind me of the early 2010s and the 2000s when we were in school, because it's where Tech baseball was okay.
Yeah, figuring it out.
Like the whole year you're like, okay. How good's the baseball? How good's the baseball team? Okay. That was basically the entire the entire time pre Tadlock. So it's are you going to the game today? Oh, how good are they? So yeah, but not terrible. It's gonna be. I will say this: if you go to the baseball game, it's going to be a fun game. Doesn't mean we're gonna win, but it's going to be a fun game with runs being scored. So there's that. Opposite side of things, though, that ain't the case for softball, Jeremy.
As a team that puts up runs and doesn't let anybody else put up runs, so it's the ideal scenario.
We got a Hollywood team too. You got Kennedy was on ESPN, right? Get Up, right?
Yeah.
She was on Get Up. This was after, or it was either right after or right before she got the AUSL golden ticket.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I ain't gonna lie to you, Jeremy. I don't know nothing about that, but I assume it means that hey, you're gonna be drafted to a team or select.
It's
or like,
Willy Wonka level stuff, man. Yeah,
because they don't draft, right? They don't draft. They just put you on a team. Is that right?
That's right. Kind of. Yeah, it's a complicated. Yeah, that's. We don't get too in the weeds about it. Nobody cares, but.
Well, I remember last year that one of the Texas players, like in the College World Series, they're like, "Yeah, she's going to play for this team next year." And I'm like, "Y'all do a draft already, or how does this work?"
Yeah.
Explain these professional softball rules to me.
That's right. The very complicated and fleeting world of professional softball. Yeah. But just as a team as a whole, I mean, you're playing. One of the questions we had last year is like, World Series runner-up, like national championship runner-up. How do we top it? Got to win the national championship. And so we were thinking, how do they do that? How do we do that, man? We need X, Y, and Z. Coach Glasgow, the team, the boosters said, you know what? Here's X, Y, and Z. Go do it, right? And here we are. You only got 2 losses on the season. 2 losses. I'm thinking of the you played the Japan team, right? But that was just kind of like a let's go have fun. So you only got 2 losses a season. You were at 35 wins, right? 11-1 in conference. You just lost. In the one you lost against Arizona on the opening of the game of the series. And Texas Tech getting fraud alert, Texas Tech. And what was the score of that first one? It was pretty close. 0-9, pretty close to being ugly because they run ruled us, and so it was very much like, Texas Tech fraud alert. Well, what do we do? We run ruled them next game, and we run ruled them again. So eat shit. So had that loss against Arizona, and pretty much has just said we're just going to keep doing our thing. Win. All I do is win, like that song. That made it sound like the DJ Khaled song. I was actually thinking about another one. But this team, excellent top to bottom. I was talking to our pre-pod, 76 home runs on the season. And that is a significant number. That's not a small number. I mean, it sounds big. It is big. Like, it's not like they hit the ball like 500 times in a season. It's like, yeah, duh. No, it's like, no, this team is cranking these things out there, having a great time. You've got excellent, the 2 big things that we were looking for in the offseason we need static pitching. We need better pitching, because like in the World Series, what got us in trouble last season, Adri Kennedy was playing too much, right? She's an all-star pitcher, but you can't have her out there the whole time. Right. So what do? We get another pitcher in there. Okay, great. What else we needed to do? Well, we really kind of weren't hitting very well in the World Series. All right, I'll go get you 4 or 5 hitters. Well, here we are, just absolutely decimating everybody. And so, like you said, complete. If baseball's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde scenario, this is something else. Just beautiful. This is the Hulk. We are the Hulk right now, and there's just we're just plowing through teams. I mean, Texas Tech softball, we'll see in the World Series finale. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think the only concern that I have is that, let's face it, Big 12 is not a great softball conference, right? There's not a lot that's going to stand in our way. Winning the Big Big 12 doesn't really mean much, right? Because it's kind of having the teams that are going to be able to really make us better, but make us battle tested. I'm glad that we had to go through the Arizona series, right? Because it's going to make us better as we move forward. I think Arizona State's going to be another tough one in Tempe. But outside that Arizona State series, I don't really see any other potential loss, any other challenging game. And the reason I say all this is because Texas Tech is one of 4 schools in the country that only has 2 losses.
Yeah.
The other 3 schools are Grand Canyon. Shout out to the Antelopes. They are right now 36-2, and they are ranked, Jeremy, out there in Colorado. So Grand Canyon only has 2 losses on the season. Right, they also have a similar problem where they ain't got nobody to play with. I think the only power conference schools they play with that I see here, they did beat Minnesota 6-0, good for them, and they squeaked out a win against Wisconsin. Actually beat Wisconsin twice, and they beat Notre Dame. So look at that. So you have them. One of their losses did come to Arizona. Fun fact for Grand Canyon. Anyway, talking about Grand Canyon too much, but the other 2 teams, Texas and Alabama. And Texas and Alabama are about to play each other this upcoming week.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to basically test each other and show each other, okay, well, what do we have here, right? One of Texas's losses, they just lost to A&M. That was, and actually, fun fact, I actually watched that game. They had just lost to A&M, and that was their second loss of the season, and they go right from there to playing an Alabama team, the only other team outside of Tech that even has a first place vote. So Texas is going to be battle tested in a strong SEC. I do, as will Alabama, right? So I do worry about us, where the only tough team we have left is Arizona State.
I ain't worried about it at all. I'll tell you that much. I can see where the word comes from. I'm not worried about it at all.
There you go. Maybe what Glasgow does is he goes out and gets like an all-star team to like just beat them 30-0 and be like, all right, see, there's your test. There's your test.
Next. Yeah.
Like he rounds them up actually, because I don't think anybody can beat them 30-0, but he picks them. Actually, you know what? He picks them up, gets them all liquored up. I'm sure this will be illegal. Gets them all liquored up, and then goes out there and has them play against Baylor and be like, all right, let's level the playing field.
Now we're level.
So yeah, but softball is definitely killing it. But it is, I mean, it's championship or bust. Anything less than, you got to make College World Series bare minimum, I think, for this team.
Yeah. And
the expectation is definitely to win the whole thing. So, So we'll see. All right, Jeremy, anything else you want to say to the people?
No. It's been exciting. Basketball's over, so we're gonna kind of wrap up stickball, and then track and field. Definitely national championship seeking track and field team for the outdoor, and then the dreaded offseason looms in the future. But we also, NFL draft is coming up, so that'll be fun to cover. See how many we actually get.
Yeah, and offseason is always a fun time here at TNT. We always get good stories, good conversations, good things we can talk about, good interviews. It's nice. But yeah, I definitely want to get in some NFL draft stuff, especially with the guys, with the people we have drafted. Next episode, we'll really get into talking about who could potentially be drafted. I know we had some nice conversations there in our group chat, and then also dive a little bit more into some of our baseball woes and our softball successes. So for the people's champ, Daddy Germ, a.k.a. Jeremy Gillen, this is your boy, I'll Be Sure, and you have been listening to the Tortillas and Takes podcast, part of the 1012 Network. As always, stay erect, people. Also, check out the softball jersey. I'm locked in, baby. Locked in.